Hey guys, Decky here. Just giving a quick update in case anyone is watching this series. Yeah, it's been quiet for a while. I've just been busy at uni, so I haven't had much time to get through it. But Mitz and I have actually completed this episode. We just haven't gotten around to uploading it. So now that I'm free, I'll be able to get around to it. Just letting you know. Thanks.
Maria, no.
We were up to.
You look like you're about to fall asleep.
No, it's because you moved stuff and now I got cat hair in my eye.
Cat hair.
We just saw Natsuhi's daydreams.
That's right, she was on the bench by herself, but she was imagining that
But she was not on
Beatrice.
her own.
Yeah.
And then Butler was the one who proved that, I think.
And then who was it that told him off? No, it was Battler. No, Beatrice proved... No.
Butler was talking to Byrne and Lambda.
Oh, was it Byrne who proved that she was by herself, and then Battler's like, that's not the dates, like, we're only doing the dates from this date to this date.
It's one of them. One of the witches. Alright. After dashing to her bedroom, Jessica answered the phone call that had been transferred there.
Hello? Sorry to keep you waiting. Battler! What do you think you're doing? Not contacting us for 6 years? How's it going? Oh, really? How the hell do I know? Shut up. So that means you'll be coming to this year's family conference, right? I mean it. It's been 6 whole years.
So it was the year before, now we're on, I think, the current year. 5 businessmen in expensive suits were visiting in the parlour, giving Kraus and Natsuhi a progress report on their business.
Is their business looking for the hidden mansion on the island?
Oh, probably part of it. And also investing.
Oh my goodness.
Spread out on the table were the blueprints and designs for a building, as well as documents related to expenditures and the like. So packed that even a teacup would have gotten in the way. Officially, they were here to give Kraus a progress report, but now, in actuality, Kraus had called them all the way over to Rekenjima so that Natsuhi could hear them from them directly. This was because Natsuhi needed to hear someone other than her husband explain what condition their business was in. In other words, even though another family conference without Kinzo was approaching, their business had not yet earned them any money. After telling the guests to wait for a short while, Kraus took Natsuhi out into the hall and once again summarized the situation. In short, they say the work is proceeding even better than we imagined. This is where my personal connection to the governor really starts to pay off. By now, it's absolutely impossible for this catch to get away from us. To the contrary, it's growing so big that in one go, we'll be able to regain not just the power of attorney, but everything we've lost up to this point as well. Kraus spoke passionately. This made it seem all the more suspicious to Natsuhi, but this time, at least, she had to admit that everything really did seem to be going well. Certainly, this business Kraus boasted of had expanded in scope over the last year, and was promising an even greater payoff that had been anticipated initially. Whether it would prove to be a winner or not, investors had gathered around it, and they were rapidly gaining funds. This must be what they meant, or what they mean when they say money summons money. It was probably the greatest success of Kraus's life so far. No, it probably would be his greatest success yet. That point was where Natsuhi's misgivings lay. True, it was certain, and as Kraus had said, they wouldn't lose this catch now. However, the fish on the line had gotten too big. We'll definitely be able to reel this fish in. There's no need to rush. It's such a success that I wish I could show it to Father, if he was still alive.
Oh, yes, I know. However, I believe you made me a promise last year. You said you were sure you could manage something within a year.
A pained look rose to Krause's face. They certainly had hooked a fat fish that guaranteed great success. However, it would require an appropriate amount of time to reel it in. Natsuhi pressured Krause, asking if there was any way for them to make money before this year's family conference. But Krause kept saying that he needed just one more year. Krause planned to use this unprecedented success to catapult them into further challenges in the future. Because of this, he didn't want to do anything that would raise suspicions by making it seem like they were rushing to get money. Certainly, fortune tends to turn against people who take it for granted, even in the slightest. Anxious beggars never prosper. On many occasions before now, Krause had gotten cold feet and sold off businesses that would surely have brought in a profit had he just waited, and had, in effect, given away his winning picks. Natsuhi also knew this. She knew that guts were the thing her husband lacked most. That's why she was unable to refuse when Krause said he wanted to prudently wait just one more year.
I don't know if that's guts, just like not willing to put him up.
No, he was selling when it looked bad, but that was the mistake. Why are you here, old man? Ha 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 ha! Yeah, that's how it is. How wonderful that things are going well. It would appear I skipped some texts. I'll have to sit around here as a ghost for a little longer.
You don't look too disappointed. You're fated to be chewed to bits by demons the moment you leave this world. Oh, my apologies, Father. For one more year you might not be granted peace.
It is fine. Fear not, Natsuhi. I am no longer the Yushiromiya family head. The ghost of the study should obediently follow the current head's commands. I've taken a look at Krause's charts, and they aren't bad at all.
Even from your perspective, Father? They're pretty good, even from my perspective. Everyone is confident in victory, gathering together a significant quantity of magical power. As a result, that victory is growing even deeper, involving more and more people and magic beginning to create gold, a perfect embodiment of classic alchemy.
Oh, if you've earned even the Golden Witch's approval, that is very reassuring. Rejoice, Natsuhi. This business of Krause's will save the Yushiromiya family from its crisis without fail.
Oh dear, thank you very much. And if you would once again... Indeed. We'll have to overcome one more family conference, won't we? Oh yes. I think things went well last year, but I imagine some of the relatives will find it suspicious. I think this year's conference will be a critical time.
During last year's family conference, you were correct to predict that the same thing might not have to happen again.
Even those who aren't witches preparing for the worst-case scenario is one of the basics for getting on in this world. So, what will you do this year? Oh, just like last year, I will see to it that a high concentration of the servants who know Father's secrets and are there on the day of the conference. Some of the relatives may already have noticed that Father isn't around. A careless show might actually put us in more danger of exposure.
Indeed. It is said that too much is as bad as too little. Then what will you do?
Unlike last year, I think we'll go with a plan that has you staying inside your study until the end.
That would be suitable. Barricades are straightforward and simple, a final trump card.
No matter how strongly the toxin fills this mansion, as long as the closed room barrier remains around this room, it will be impossible to deny Kinzo's existence. I guarantee that myself. However, when forming a barricade, it is inevitable that you will be surrounded. Oh dear, I know. Even so, I beg that both of you lend us your power just one more time.
I cannot disobey the orders of the new head. Furthermore, a ghost cannot disobey the orders of the living. If you tell me not to leave this room, I will obey.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm not satisfied. If you want me to lend you my power, I won't listen to a mere request. Oh, yes, you are the family alchemist, so I won't ask you to help. I order you to help. Your magic is the one thing we can rely on. Use that power to create an illusion of father just one more time. Very well, I hear and obey. I find your confidence quite pleasing. That's not a chapter, is it?
From the shadows of the study, Battler watched the exchange between these three. I see. So we've made it to this year's family conference. Grandfather was in a bad mood, so he shut himself in his study and didn't appear in front of anyone. Natsuhi spoke boldly about how she would somehow overcome this year's crisis and protect the Ushiromiya family's honor until the end, while Kinzo praised her, saying that her plan looked promising. Beato also praised her, saying that Natsuhi's dignified confidence was even more well-suited for the headship than Krause's. However, right now, the true number of people in this room was... The moment I thought of that, no, just because I thought of it, Beato grabbed at her chest and moaned.
Oh.
Don't worry, this is still outside the game board, so I won't deny you or Grandfather over there. I put my hand on Beato's as she tried to hold back the pain deep inside her chest. I've already told Berncastel. The 2-day period of the 1986 family conference is all I need to deny the illusion of the witch. In the last game you said in red that Grandfather's dead at the start time for all games. However, you never mentioned whether Grandfather was alive or dead before the start time for the games. In short, even if Grandfather exists in this place right now, that doesn't create any contradictions. My hand touching her let off a faint blue light, which seeped into her chest. That light tenderly wrapped itself around the splinters in Beato's chest. And I also can't deny the existence of the Beatrice in this place. The number of people on this island outside the game board, in other words, before October 4th, 1986, has not been proclaimed in red. Therefore, there's nothing strange about Beatrice existing here. Beato's expression softened lightly. My blue light slowly began to melt the red splinters that denied the illusion of the witch. Beato still wore the same sad expression, but she lifted her face and looked me straight in the eye. Though she was silent, her eyes told me that her pain had subsided. That feeling that showed in her eyes were gratitude for taking the pain away, and appreciation, or was it surprise, for leaving even a tiny bit of leeway for witches to exist. Unable to look directly at those pure eyes of hers, I reflexively averted my gaze. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't plan on accepting the existence of witches or surrendering. I just want to let that part slide and fight stoically, so that I can win this game against you. I have no desire to bully you outside the game board as well. Beato hung her head. I was still facing away from her. However, we waited wordlessly for a while, my hand still on hers. By now, no one would believe that this sad-eyed woman was the same person as that prideful Beato. So, I asked once more. Even though I said it out loud, it wasn't a question to her. I was asking myself. Just what in the world were you thinking? That's right. Even though this is Lambda's game, I have to find you here. I have to find what you thought and what you were trying to do. Very soon, this game will also reach October 4th, 1986. The 5th game will finally begin. And this time, I'll reach the end of that journey. I'm not worried about the surface level stuff, like murders and tricks. What did you, the Golden Witch Beatrice, think? And why did you do what you did? What were you hoping for? That's what I'm gonna find out. That's right. I already know how I can reach the end of that journey. It's been made clear to me since the very beginning. This time, I'll spin the chessboard around. I'll read this tale not from my side, but from yours. And this time, I'll understand you. I'll pick my way to your heart. I won't let you feel pain. Don't worry. I won't let those witches use you as a toy anymore. Beato looked up at me again and gave a small nod. That's right. The position of Game Master might have been snatched up by Lambda Delta. However, as long as I continue this contest with the intent of fighting against Beato, our fight will continue no matter who controls the game board. Very soon, the curtain will rise on our game. At this year's family conference, we must conceal the Master's secret once again.
Yes, I understand.
I'm a little doubtful that the same trick will work twice. Madame shares your concerns. Because of that, it was decided that this year, he will not leave the study even once.
In other words, we'll make it seem like he's been shut away in his study the whole time?
Yes. And the only ones allowed to enter the study are the three of us, the servants permitted to wear the one-winged eagle. Which means the three of us will have to perpetuate the lie about the Master. Correct. The relatives will probably question you about the Master's health and mood. Make sure you answer without hesitation, and see to it that nothing is seen as suspicious.
Yes, I understand.
I'm sure you'll screw up right away, Nair-san. Maybe it's better to say you have a cold or something so you can skip that day.
That's mean.
Cannon wasn't just making fun of her. He only wanted to release Shannon from the burden of working on this most serious of days. Kenji-sama, is it really necessary for Shannon to be on duty? We can manage things well enough without her. That I cannot do. Madame gave strict orders that the three of us be scheduled to work on that day.
Yes, I am prepared to perform my duties successfully.
Don't screw up.
I won't.
Shannon grew sullen, and Cannon shrugged. Then Genji told them that they weren't taking this seriously enough. Shannon, Cannon.
They've got the dark, scary eyes.
The Master we serve has already passed away. However, until he has truly passed on, we will continue to serve. That study is not empty. The Master is still there, hard at work on his usual research. Make sure you take that to heart.
Yes,
Genji-sama.
Oh, that's real people.
That's a real person.
Father has already passed away. That's insane.
Settle down. It's only a possibility. It's well known that Takeda Shingen said in his will that his death was to be kept secret for 3 years. Know about that?
Is that how it went? My Japanese history isn't so correct.
At the time, Takeda was in the middle of a war with Oda and Tokugawa. If people learned about his death at a time like that, it'd probably have had a bad impact on the war. Because of that, he left a will saying that his death should be kept hidden for 3 years. Hideyoshi did the same thing, right? He totally suppressed information about the death of his master, Oda Nobunaga, so that the enemy wouldn't find out. Quickly made peace with Mori, and defeated Akechi in the Battle of Yamazaki. On the other hand, Shibata Katsuie failed at this. The enemy, Uesugi, learned of Nobuyuki's death, so Shibata had to deal with an unexpected counterattack and got slowed down. That's why later on, he suffered a great loss against Hideyoshi in the fight for the succession.
The Japanese words, they just come out of nowhere. You even get you by surprise.
Hideyoshi, who had a strong fascination with the commanders of the Sengoku period, would always show off his knowledge when he got the chance. Wincing slightly, Eva made him get back on to his point. So basically,
The whole time since last year's family conference, I felt as though something was off. Something was strange.
You mean the time when Rudolph and I were talking about the inheritance and father overheard us from the hall?
That's just it. Nazi-san and the servants kept saying father was here or there and that he seemed to be in a bad mood. But not a single one of us relatives saw father, right?
If what you're thinking is right, what does that mean? Does it mean Nissan's trying to keep all of the inheritance for himself?
Of course, hiding someone's death is a very dangerous thing to do. And all things considered, I'm not sure Kraus-san would be willing to do it just to have the inheritance to himself. But it is possible.
Well, it's true that Nissan has always been greedy. He always used to take things that were meant for all the siblings, keeping them for himself.
Kraus-san is supposed to be the richest of the siblings. Kraus-san's scheming to keep the inheritance all to himself to the point of accepting the risks of hiding father's death. Sounds a tad unbelievable to me. Even so, last year's family conference was so strange, I can't help but wonder.
Ava and the others were painfully aware of how reckless it would be to try and see Kinzo when he was in a bad mood. So, during last year's family conference, once they heard about Kinzo getting into a terrible mood, they never made an attempt to contact him. That was why, to this very day, they hadn't found it suspicious that Kinzo had never appeared.
It certainly is worth suspecting. But I wonder if Nissan really would do something as appalling as hiding father's death. For all his pride, that man has a coward's side to him. Would he really make such a once-in-a-lifetime bet?
Either way, it'd probably be a good idea to make sure we get a chance to meet with father during this year's conference.
Can't speak.
Your Pikachu is spidery.
Yeah, he knows Electro words. The rumors are really bad. Sounds like Aniki's business is failing even worse than we'd imagined. Like he's taken massive losses, and he's given it all he's got just to try and cover it up.
That'll make it very difficult to borrow money from him.
Yeah, I could cry.
Wouldn't being in financial stress also weaken Krause's son's position in certain ways?
Weaken his position? Well, investors tend to have a keen eye. If they hear that he's actually low on funds, they won't want to have anything to do with him.
I guess trust is the most important part of that business.
Kirie smiled thinly. Rudolph was taken aback by that smile. He'd figured that his plan, which involved raising money to get him out of his current mess by borrowing from the affluent Kraus, would all come to nothing now that they knew Kraus himself was in financial trouble.
Confidence in Kraus's abilities might be a requirement for his own businesses in the future, but it isn't necessary for our future.
Are you suggesting that I blackmail him?
I wouldn't want to if it were me. For one blood sibling to take another one down is no laughing matter.
Rudolph felt a shiver go up his spine as Kirie's cold smile. At times, Kirie was able to throw away all compassion and think in an extremely ruthless manner. Whenever he saw that, Rudolph knew he'd never like to have her as his enemy.
I'd rather not threaten Oni-san. Is this me speaking, or you speaking?
I think it's you. I mean, she's on the screen.
I'd rather not threaten Oni-san if we had any other way to get money.
If there were another way, we wouldn't be worrying.
Don't you think it's a bit pathetic to waste time worrying about a problem when you have no other options?
Rudolph stopped talking, folded his arms, and lowers his gaze. I really can't talk. He still felt some of the terror he'd experienced, thanks to Kraus's violence when they were young. And now, that same Kraus was the one he needed to threaten. Rudolph would also be fighting against his childhood trauma. So to give her husband a little push, Kirie smiled reassuringly, and perhaps coldly.
I've never been a fan of doing work based on trust. It takes hard work to build up trust, but only an instant to lose it. There's no less profitable investment. Actually, that's true. It is very easy to lose trust.
You needed Kirie to tell you that?
Because I was like, up until the, like, there's no less part of the sentence. I'm like, truth bombs.
You're right. All the trust in the world isn't worth a good banknote.
Even though Krausson has been taking on massive losses, he ought to be capable of gathering enough money to buy us some time. Of course, he'd probably be forced to cash in all the trust he's built up so far.
This is gonna get ugly.
We'll have to prepare sufficiently. We haven't been given any time or room for failure. Isn't that right? Among my Kyoto friends, I know a few who are talented at this sort of investigation. I'd rather not be indebted to people like that, but do you want to try meeting them? You can't expect people like that to offer you receipts, but I'm sure they'll dig up something that makes them worth the investment.
Yes, Maria is doing well too. That's none of your business. Thank you. Huh? This is such a weird conversation. Well, I have to look at my schedule. Rosa was talking to Rudolph over the phone.
How did you know it was Rosa?
Well, it's going through all the siblings.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Rosa was talking to Rudolph over the phone. Rosa rarely received calls from her older siblings, so she braced herself for something serious. Well, truth is, I want to have a little talk about the next family conference without Aniki. Yeah, okay, that was meant to be Rudolph. Between you, me, and Eva-san? Sounds like a headache. I can't go into details over the phone, but I think you'll find it's worth listening to. Something good? Of course. Aniki's all for it. Ne-san is? All we want is your approval. We aren't gonna ask you for money or anything like that. The most important thing is that the three of us stick together. Got it? Rosa let out a sigh. She did so because in the past, when Rudolph and Eva got into a fight with Kraus, they always used to talk to her like this right before dragging her into it. First, tell me, I stand to gain something too, yes? Yep. The three of us will each grab 200 million out of this. If all goes well, we might be able to squeeze out more. That should be enough to handle your debt, right? And when can we expect to grab this by? Of course, it'll be within a year. I need it. Aniki needs it. And you need it too, Rosa. All three of our problems will be settled. So, the chances of success are good enough that Ne-san's agreed to it. Now do you want to hear? I know it's a bit sudden, but let's meet next Sunday, at 7 p.m. at the coffee shop you like in Ginza. That's the only time Aniki's schedule and mine match. Any problems? If we're talking 200 million, I'll have no choice but to listen. Then let's meet at 7 p.m. next Sunday at Leopold's. And Maria-chan, you can bring her too if you want. Don't talk about money in front of that child. She set the receiver down with a clunk, a little violently. Apparently, either Eva or Rudolph had gotten a hold of one of Kraus's weak points. They would probably threaten him with that at the next family conference and force him to pay up. Even before hearing the details, she knew full well that it would be nothing good. But even so, this might be her once-in-a-lifetime chance to pay back her large debts. Rosa took a notebook out of her handbag and started to mark the day she'd be meeting with Rudolph and Eva. Then she frowned and smacked herself hard in the forehead, because written there was DZL with Maria, something she had planned to do with her daughter. Maria was in her room, playing around excitedly with Saktara and the others. That was because she was going to go to that recently built amusement park, Disneyland, the following Sunday. Looking at the clock, Rosa saw that it was just past 9 at night. Maria was breaking the lights out rule. After covering her face and agonizing for a while, Rosa stood up and stomped over to Maria's room. The room would probably be a mess as well. At least tonight, that was convenient. As she stood outside the door to Maria's room, listening to the happy laughter seeping through, Rosa's face twisted in anguish once again, and she looked at the floor. Then, when she raised her head again, her brow was furrowed and her face had become an ugly expression of anger. No Disneyland for you.
Poor Maria.
The weather wasn't that great. According to the weekend forecast, a certain tropical cyclone would likely grow into a large typhoon. If unhappy premonitions tend to be right, this year's family conference will probably take place in absolutely horrible weather. No, Natsuhi.
No, I wish a typhoon large enough to stop all boat travel would seal Rikenshimu away from travel. Don't wish that forever. If that happened, I'd be able to hide Kinzo's death as long as I wanted. Oh, if only the typhoon would keep them at bay forever. Natsuhi let out a deep sigh.
Just doing that made her headache throb. As the day of the family conference approached, the intensity of her headache just kept on increasing. At that time, the phone rang. Natsuhi turned the TV off and picked up the receiver.
Hello? You're trying to figure out who it is?
It's Genji. I apologize for calling during your arrest. It is Genji.
Is something the matter?
There is a phone call for you from the external line. However, they will not state their name.
They aren't saying their name?
Yes. The person in question said you would know when you spoke with them. What should be done? It might be a prank.
Oh, what did they sound like?
I believe it was a young man.
Battler from the future?
Any idea who it might be?
A young man?
Natsuhi didn't have a clue who that might be.
The fourth bunny?
Was not a man. In the first place, there was no one amongst her acquaintances who would do something as rude as refusing to state their name. And on top of that, a young man? As a wife, she must avoid any contact that might be considered suspicious with anyone other than her husband, much less a young man. As soon as she thought this, the phone call suddenly seemed like something dirty. But despite that, she also wanted to know what they wanted to tell her. So? Could it be some kind of trouble related to Krause's business? What if there was some particular reason they needed to talk with Krause's wife instead of Krause directly?
No matter what it is, it's my duty as a wife to listen and report to Krause. If it's some bizarre threat, I just have to firmly refuse and inform Krause that I received such a phone call. If it's something offensive, I just have to tell Genji to never send any anonymous phone calls to me again.
As Natsuhi thought this, just as Genji was suggesting that he hang up on the man as though that's what she'd naturally choose, she told him to connect her to this person. She then set the receiver down. After a short while, the phone rang again.
Hello?
This wasn't the internal line, it was the external phone line, which Genji had redirected to her. So it should already have been connected directly with the mysterious man. However, the person on the other end didn't respond. Not liking this at all, Natsuhi spoke one more time, sounding displeased.
Hello? Who is this? Tell me your name.
She heard something that sounded like a sigh. She gulped reflexively. After remaining silent for a little while longer, the man finally answered.
It's been a long time, huh?
That was the first time the man had spoken.
Just how long has it been? How many years?
What are you talking about? Who are you?
The voice certainly did sound like a young man's, but it's hard to learn much about someone just by their voice over the phone. It sounded like a young man, but it might actually be a middle school-aged boy, or a man in his prime who still had a youngish voice. No, wait, it might be too soon to be sure if this is even a male. However, one thing was certain. Natsuhi could think of no one who would speak to her in an overly familiar manner like this.
It'd be easy for me to tell you my name, but that would make me very sad.
I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you? And what business do you have with me? If you can't tell me that, I'm not interested. I'm hanging up.
What I want is for you to remember.
And what is it that you're telling me to remember? I don't know you, so I have nothing to remember.
Please do not say that. I am your child, am I not?
What did you say? What are you talking about?
Do not say things that will make me so sad, Mother.
That unsettling word thrust itself mercilessly into the depths of Natsuhi's heart and started churning it about. In her entire life, Natsuhi had never been told something so unsettling. In her bewilderment, Natsuhi felt her heart beat so loudly that it felt like it would explode.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what you're planning, but I'm hanging up.
I came back for revenge. Revenge for your crime of 19 years ago.
Natsuhi's mind went blank, and from beyond the wind howling outside the window, she most certainly heard the roar of the sea from that day.
So, you actually do remember, do you not?
I told you I don't know what you're talking about. I'll never call here again.
I have not forgotten how you treated me 19 years ago. To curse you, I still call you Mother despite that. No, because of that, the family conference will be here very soon, right? I am your son, Mother. I will continue, or I will come on the day of the conference, after 19 years, so that I can have my revenge on you.
Breathing so hard her shoulders heaved, Natsuhi slammed the receiver down and hung up. Then she hit the phone violently, knocking the receiver off, so that no more calls would come through it.
I can hear the roar of the sea. That voice I hear from beyond the howling wind is certainly... Oh, even if I cover my ears. Oh dear, even if I cover my ears. That headache won't...
Completely pale, Natsuhi kept shivering as though cold.
Lambda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm anywhere you want me to be, Burn.
Then crawl into the cupboard under the kitchen floor, or in a jar of rice bran paste if you like.
Oh, you're gonna dip me in bean paste and bite into me? But then I'd rather you dip me in honey. In return, I'll cook you in sugar water.
At least make it a sweet soy sauce with sweet cake.
Or was that sweet sake?
Sake. So, what's up? You gonna make me repeat something?
That's right. Is Natsuhi's phone conversation here real?
Lambda Delta grinned unpleasantly, as though sizing Burn Castell up. She was probably trying to tease Burn for making that demand.
You refuse to repeat it?
Well now, should I refuse or should I respond? As the Game Master, that's up to me to decide, and I get to make that decision anytime I want.
Unless I state it in blue, you aren't obligated to respond.
That's it. For now, you're stuck wondering about Natsuhi's secret of 19 years ago, okay? Make sure you're sitting on the edge of your seat.
Of course, this fishy telephone call happened before October 4th, 1986. This is still before the start time of the game, so there's basically no need to question whether it's true or false.
Since you, the Game Master, went out of your way to show me this, I'll take it as a preparatory move for something else. It might be a trick, but I'll at least keep this move of yours in my memory.
So you'll leave without turning the card over. Ow! What?
Direct attack.
After suddenly being conked on the head, Lambda Delta was bewildered. But perhaps this incomprehensible exchange was funny to her, because she quickly went back to giggling. Are you done preparing the game board now?
Yes, that's right. Now I'll finally move on to the next game. On to October 4th, 1986.
I wonder what number October 4th, 1986 this is. The Endless Witch, huh? Beatrice. She truly is a frightening child.
Any moves from your side yet, Burn?
No. If you refuse to repeat what I asked, then I'm done.
Turn and right, and tap and keep draw. Come, October 4th, 1986. What does that mean?
That's a chapter. A shorter chapter that's not 3 hours long.